Yo, what's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? We are back. I told you we were going to be back. And yeah, here we are. This is what we're doing. So, we got the new gaming chair. Not much to show off. We got the new necklace. Something to show off. We got the new mic. We got the arm boom thing, whatever you want to call it. A new webcam, which is 4K, but because I'm on only the free option on StreamYard, it won't let me. So it's only letting me produce you 720p or whatever it is. I don't know. But anyway, listen, look, I've come back because a little birdie told me that Mohammad Hijab has been caught out. Oh, yes, my friends. They always say, what's done in the dark will be brought to the light. A great verse from the Bible. A verse from Jesus Christ himself. And let me tell you, when people like Mohammed Hijab do the stuff that they always get caught out in the end. They always do. They're absolute idiots. Liars, cheats, manipulators, people like that always get caught out in the end. Trust me, I know. And I'm not saying I'm as good as gold. I've told a few porkies in my time. We all have. You have. But this man is something else. And obviously, because of the ideology that he follows and what he preaches, it makes him that little extra demonic, if you know what I mean. So let's dig into it. I'm going to show you a video that I had stumbled across that was actually sent to me. Now, some of you who used to be a subscriber or follower on my last channel will already remember that Mohammed Hijab had invited me, and this was back in the day when me and Nico used to be making videos all the time. We were live streaming all the time. And I sent something to Mohammed Hijab on his personal Facebook and tagged him in it. And then I made a video of me doing a knockout thing where I was punching this machine and his face popped up. And then, and then there was another video with like bacon, and then another video that Nico made. And then, we kind of wind him up. We really hurt his feelings, poor little Momo. And then he started calling me all the names under the sun. Then he offered out David Wood. And knowing that David Wood is all the way over across the pond in America, saying that he wanted to have a boxing match and a debate after. Well, I thought, hang on a minute. David Wood isn't your size. But I am. And guess what, too? I love boxing. So, being a previous boxer, being the same size, having the same kind of experience or knowledge, I wouldn't say as much as David Wood, but kind of on the even path there, I would say. I thought I would send Mohammed Hijab a message, personally. So I let him know that I was interested. And in fact, I'm here in the UK. And you can meet me. We can do your whatever you want in a cage, because he apparently is a Brazilian jiu-jitsu expert, so they say. Or we can do it in a boxing ring, which is what I would have preferred. But either way, I would have loved to have got into any kind of area where violence can take place between me and Mohammed Hijab, legally speaking. Because this guy, some of the stuff that he has said, he has actually fully admitted that it's okay to marry 6-year-olds. And he's been caught on Speaker's Corner loads of times. He has slipped up and slipped up again and again and again. And he's been cheating on his missus. And I was saying this all along. We had knowledge coming back from. I didn't even have to go to London to get the information about what Mohammad Hijab was up to, what he was doing. And this was at the time as well. He was also sending threats to Tommy Robinson and other people. He was going on one. And I think this is the time where he was trying to get himself famous. He had managed to somehow hijack himself onto Piers Morgan's show. And yeah. But listen, someone sent me this video. I watched it and I thought, do you know what? Oh, this is going on a Watch With Me live stream playlist because that's what I've got now. So I've created. So I have been working hard, guys. I haven't forgot you. Okay? That's one thing I want you to remember. I haven't forgot you. I haven't forgot this. And I have been doing loads of work. Believe me. This phone contains so much information that it would just rock your socks off, okay? And CapCut, what can I say about them as an app? It's absolutely amazing. I don't pay a penny. I use the free version. And what I'm currently making, and it is taking a while because I'm kind of getting used to doing it differently, the way that I'm doing it. I'm using overlays, which you can do for free. Now, using overlays means I can record something, talk about something, and then add it on to the mix, if you like. And then I can also add the picture. Then I have to cut. Then I have to record again and talk about something else. So it's kind of hard because you have to re-watch yourself each time. But anyway, I'm not going to get into all that. It's not for you to worry about. But the videos are going to be good. And I've put a few up there already. So, yeah. What else? What's happened recently for me? Oh, yeah. So, as you were aware, or you may not have, but if you weren't, then you're going to be aware now. The Prevent strategy team, the amazing police force team, obviously come knocked on my door, wanted to speak to me. So I thought it would be a good idea to go along to one of their meetings and see what happens. I was hoping that they were going to put me opposite Mr. What was his name? Is it Nick Hope? The one from Hope Not Hate? I'm sure that's his name. God, I gotta find out. Is it Nick Hope? Nick Hope. Let me find out. Hang on a minute. I'm sure it is. Is it Nick Hope? Nick Hope. Nick Hope. Ah, oh, damn it. No. Hang on. Hope Not Hate. The guy from Hope Not Hate. Nick Lowes. That's the one. Nick Lowes. Right. I was hoping they were going to put me in front of Nick Lowes or someone from Just Not Hate. Hope Not Hate. Or Stand Up to Race. What do you want? Yeah? Okay, he wants to come up and say hello. Guys, this is my co-producer. This is Rocky. Yeah. He's just he likes to just know everything I'm doing. Come on, boy, get down. Anyway, so I was hoping they were going to put me in some kind of in front of a lefty and have a good old debate over a table, a cup of tea, free coffee or something, and some biscuits. Maybe end up having a food fight and going home for the day. But no. I met this copper, and then I was put in a room with this guy who would claim to be, back in the day, a far-right extremist. So we're sat there, and I'm sat there like that with my arms folded, and I'm thinking, right, what's he got to say? Little did I know, the red button was on. Yeah, because I wanted to make sure that everything was legit. Yeah. and also to prove if any questions were asked that shouldn't have been, that I had given them answers that I should have, but they weren't. So this was just a general chit chat, right? He was asking me, he said, "So what are your concerns?" So I said, My concerns are that we, the British people, are being demographically replaced by people from the Middle East who are possibly funded by Iran to come over and take over, who eventually will form a final caliphate and eventually take over Israel and possibly head over to take over the rest of Europe. And if it's not in the form of a caliphate, then it will be in the form of demographic change by the ballot box in years to come. And I have a family that have done or sacrificed a lot for this country, and it bothers me very much for the future of my children. The streets are no longer safe. Where I live, it's okay, but I have friends and I have family that live elsewhere, in places where they can't even walk. And I've heard stories upon stories from people of being spat at just because they weren't wearing a hijab. But they're British. So people are not welcome in their own home no more. That's my concern. I want everyone to get along. I want everyone to be happy. I want everyone to live peacefully. But I'm also concerned about the tyrannical government that we have in place, that there's a two-tier judiciary and policing system that we have currently going, and that Keir Starmer is going to turn us into a tyrannical, totalitarian, authoritarian, communist state. That's what I pretty much said. And the guy basically didn't have any answers back. He was just too busy writing down my concerns. Anyway, I thought, well, that went well. Nothing to show, nothing to, nothing to be concerned about. Is this it? No. A couple of weeks later, I get notified that I'm now on the police database as a far right extremist. So there we go. But the worst thing about it is I didn't get a badge. So I'm sad about that because I wanted a badge. Or a certificate. A certificate would have been okay. But no. No. They wouldn't do it. Must be running low on funds. But anyway, back to Mohammad Hijab. Now, he has been caught out massively. And I want you to enjoy this. I really do want you to enjoy this. And look, like I told you, we've got the setup. Unfortunately, we're not going to have a new studio like we had planned. So I'm sorry. However, we still have the equipment. We still have this room, and there will be a different background. So don't worry. There will be a different background. It will be 4K eventually when I decide to pay for StreamYard, because I'm not paying for it yet. Have you seen how much it's gone up recently? It's ridiculous. You don't understand. You guys watching probably think it's free. To an extent it is. But only if you do it in this quality of video or whatever. And when you've spent a lot of money on decent equipment so that you can produce good content, and then they won't allow you to use this bit or that bit or this bit and that bit just because you haven't paid them 44 quid a month, it kind of takes the mick. So I'm waiting for the right time when I've got a nice, decent background. I did have that big green screen, but that was taking up too much room. Remember, this is my home as well. So, yeah. What I'm going to do is create a nice little bit in the corner because I'm currently decorating at the moment. We're turning the garage into a jacuzzi room. The garden's just been done. So I've just been setting up trampolines and doing all stuff like that. I've put up a shed. Everything's been... It's gone crazy. Okay? It's gone crazy. I crashed my car too. That's being repaired. I got a courtesy car at the moment. Honestly. It hasn't stopped. All right? It hasn't stopped. But that's just the way it is. Anyway, let's get on with this Mohammad Hijab stuff. Okay? Because I really want to get into this. So, let's watch this video together, guys. This is brilliant. The mask has slipped. Here you go.
Engaging on X thoughtfully and respectfully, as I always do, when I happen to come across a rather interesting tweet. Is that what they're called these days? You may have heard of Mohammad Hijab, a famous Islamic apologist on the internet who's been on shows with Jordan Peterson and Piers Morgan. In this tweet, look, I'll just keep saying tweet for now, it says something rather remarkable. If we increase our birth rates, Muslims can be assured to be 10% of Britain and 20% of France in 2050, despite any policy changes in immigration. We're not designed to lobby. Our strength is not in our ability to influence.
So basically, Mohammad Hijab, on this bit, they're talking about, he's talking about using the womb as a weapon, right? If we increase our birth rates, Muslims can be assured to be 10% of Britain and 20% of France population in 2050. I reckon it's already at that peak. The government are lying to us. I'm telling you now, I have seen data and statistics that already prove, right? If we have just had the population size of Birmingham, right, that are all from the Middle East, what percentage of them do you believe are Muslim? Come on, because it's not 50-50 or anything small, is it? Let's be fair. Let's be frank. Let's not bullshit anyone here. The majority of them, I'm saying a good 98% of those that have arrived here in the past 4 to 5 years by the banana boat have come here, right, and they believe in the Mohammedan ideology. I'm telling you now. So if that's the case, right, and we were already at 6.7%, but some say otherwise. I now believe, personally, and some others that I've looked into have projected that they genuinely do believe now that we are looking between 18 and 19% of our country being Islamic already. Now, you may not believe me now, but you go pop into your local town. You go pop into the next city to you and go and look round and count. Count out of 100 and then ask yourselves the question, because we are being lied to. It isn't a mere 6%, guys. I am telling you that. But what they are saying here is we are not designing it. So here he's saying in 2050, despite any policy changes in immigration. So basically, in other words, if Nigel Farage reform or Advance UK or any type of political party gets in, it doesn't matter, because by 2050, it doesn't matter what changes have been put in place to stop us coming in by the boat. Just the people here now in Britain and in France, we will be able to, by our strength, if we use the womb as a weapon, be able to lobby and influence politicians with the numbers. Strength is in our numbers, he is saying. So in other words, they'll be able to influence and take over Britain and France without even using the ballot box, because they can get the politicians, the lefties, on their side, like they did in Iran, like they did in Afghanistan, like they did in Syria, like they did in Lebanon, like they did everywhere else, and do it here in the UK too. So that's without the ballot box. Now remember, they block vote, these people. That's why they've got the same amount of MPs sitting independently in Parliament, in our government right now, as Reform UK has. Reform UK is a party. There are 5 independent MPs that have been voted into government on one issue. And that issue is the conflict going on thousands of miles away in the Middle East. That has nothing to do with us. Isn't that incredible? So already we are seeing changes in politics. Many parties springing out of nowhere. Independent MPs. And recently, Corbyn and another Islamist woman, whatever her name is, Zara something, they have gone off to make their own thing to upset the left, which has given Nigel basically the keys to 10 Downing Street. However, in the future, because it is true, they do have a birth rate like no tomorrow compared to us. We're not having children no more. In fact, a lot of the British now, we're that divided that some of us don't want children. Some of us actually identify as children here in Britain and want to be treated like one and speak like one and be addressed as one. Some can't have children because that and that doesn't work, or that and that doesn't work. So, yeah. That being said, if a change was put in place to make sure that demographic change doesn't exceed 10%, or we put a cap on it, then Mohammad Hijab is wrong. However, what he's saying here is basically that the Islamists can go hand in hand with the lefty politicians, and their strength, they'll be able, by their strength, they'll be able to influence politicians to try and take control of Britain and France. Let's continue.
Politicians, our strength is in our numbers. So why would a British person born to Egyptian parents say something so obviously provocative and polarizing? And well, done. Now, not shortly after I had seen this, a follower pointed me towards an even more absurd tweet from yet another British, we're surprised, Pakistani Muslim who rather unironically tweeted this: 2.2 billion Muslims in the world, a unified pan-Islam should be the future. Modern nationalism must be replaced by collective sovereignty. This sort of thinking is, quite frankly, alarming. If some of the biggest influencers in the online Islamic world, both of whom are living in Britain, really think this, I believe it shows you a complete failure of integration. Here we have individuals who've benefited from the opportunities, freedoms, and protection of a Western democracy. Yet their rhetoric reveals not gratitude, but contempt. So you immediately wonder, if this is how second-generation immigrants speak about what are now their home nations, what do their communities think in larger numbers? And that brings me back to this birthright tweet. It says a lot, doesn't it? Not just about hijab, but about what they believe being British really means. Or more importantly, what it doesn't mean to them. It's clear they don't value the idea of being British or even Western in any meaningful sense. It boggles my mind because these people were born there. In a sense, winning the contemporary birth lottery. There's no pride in history, no respect for the culture, no real allegiance to the nation that gave them and their families a home. Instead, it appears their loyalty lies elsewhere, with the Ummah, the Islamic community. And to them, that's what matters most. Not integrating, not building a shared future with the rest of society, but using their growing numbers to control and sway Britain. I mean, this became painfully obvious after October 7th, a moment where the masks truly came off for many. It wasn't just tweets like this. It was a sheer lack of respect for...
Do you know what? The guy that made this video, I have so much respect for, because you see all these little clips. These clips are the ones that I put up on YouTube when it was currently happening. Remember the Southport riots? And when I put these videos up, videos of these guys now walking around, tooled up, that's what I got my strikes for. That's the excuse why they removed the channel, funnily enough, only 3 days after they arrested me on something that they had no statement for. They didn't record the interview with any devices, and there were no cameras in the room with one officer. Only then, after, for CID to walk in and quiz me for an hour to an hour and a half about my political beliefs and why I attended 2 rallies, which was one in Trafalgar Square, one in Parliament Square, who I knew, who I hung around with. What is my connection with Tommy Robinson? What do I think of Tommy Robinson? What do I think about the population change in Britain? All these questions. But luckily, I didn't have to, because I wasn't arrested for anything to do with anything like that, or anything to do with my activism or any work like that. They literally just used this reason of having me there to have a word with me to see if they can get any information, which they couldn't. And I just simply kept asking them with my reply, can I have a solicitor? Can I have a solicitor? Can I have a solicitor? And when they would ask another question, it would be, can I have a solicitor, please? Can I have Liz? It's simple as that. When they realized it wasn't going anywhere, I was released and there was no further action. But my YouTube channel then went. And isn't it funny too that when the online safety bill came out is the exact day that my Facebook account, my main Facebook profile that I have had for over 15 years, right, going back to when I was in college, that had photos, memories of friends, family, both alive and dead, unalive. You've got to be politically correct now. That had memories that were priceless to me. Albums upon albums of Christmas photos, Halloween photos, just my life, everything that I had kept was there, stored on my profile. Yet they disabled my account on the very day the online safety bill came into action. And they didn't tell me why. And I will not be surprised if this channel goes too eventually. It will happen soon. It will. They are monitoring me. They are censoring me. They are targeting me. But I won't back down. They've seen that I've been recently protesting outside Ecotricity. I've been emailing the journalists, giving them some stick about how they're writing on and reporting about Dale Vince, near where I live, and with this massive F-off 40-meter long Palestine flag draping the whole building, which hundreds upon thousands of people have to witness every day on their commute. So I stood out there on my own with a microphone and speaker draped with the Union Jack and an Israeli flag. I went into the actual offices themselves, met some lefty vegans because, of course, Ecotricity is based on being net zero and carbon free, and Dale Vince is the owner of the only vegan football club in the world, Forest Green Rovers. And yeah, well, the video's up. Go and have a look. Check it out yourself. It's up. I've put it up there. And yeah, they didn't like that. I had a couple of people run past shouting genocide at me. But none of them would hold the debate. None of them can. But my next plan as well, I recently bought a globe. I'll show you it next time. I'm going to ask people next time at one of these pro-Palestine events where Gaza is. And I'm going to ask them to point it on me on the globe. Because I'd like to know how well educated they are. And we're going to show them up. And we're gonna make a very funny video to give to you. So anyway, let's continue with this knobhead.
For the people who call Britain home, in a country that's welcomed them, Given them a chance to build a better life, they respond with this. Not gratitude, not an effort to bridge divides, but outright disdain for the very people whose culture and society they now live in. It's a slap in the face, isn't it? Considering there are tons of people from all around the world who did everything to move, integrate, and embrace their new homes. This really is a total disregard for the people of Britain. People who are expected to make room, step aside, and watch as their own culture gets undermined in the name of someone else's vision for the future. And the worst part, it's not even subtle. They're saying it out loud now.
What are you going to do then? Actually, post Sharia is even there. We have families, we are making babies. You're not. That population is going down the slum.
The mask has slipped and they don't seem to care. And let's not kid ourselves. This isn't just happening in Britain. You can see the same patterns playing out across Western countries.
Wie könnte man jetzt aus Deutschland einen islamischen Staat machen? Wie zum Beispiel?
Laut den Werken ist das so, dass man, wenn man in der Mehrheit ist, wie Sie auch erklärt haben, sind wir dafür befohlen, Deutschland einzunehmen, auf jeden Fall.
Also es ist der Moslem, das ist eine islamische Pflicht, auch Deutschland einzunehmen.
Auf jeden Fall.
Whether it's rhetoric like this or entire communities that refuse to assimilate, the outcome does not look great. If someone like Hijab wanted to increase birth rates for dominance, you've got to wonder, why don't they move back? Clearly, they believe Islamic nations to be superior, so why live in a place like Britain? Unless, of course, it's all for the economic and personal freedoms they enjoy. The very freedoms provided by the...
I want to do a little reload and go back to the bit in Germany, okay? Because we hear this all the time. And this is what I don't like. This is what the politicians are not looking at. Because this is the truth, guys. This is the truth. This is what they want, what they truly want, and what they truly believe. It's in their scripture. Of course, with any prophecy, they want to fulfill it so that they can prove that their ideology, that their God, is the real God. So they will do what they can, just like they did with the Ottoman Empire, trying to take down Constantinople. They tried and tried and tried, and it took them weeks until eventually they did, and they come up with all these ideas, these different sultans. But for a very long time, they couldn't penetrate the walls. They couldn't do it. They just couldn't. And then you had the one sultan who grew up really young, from a young age, and yeah, he ended up doing it. He ended up succeeding it. Then they were going to go for Rome. But anyway, that's for another day. But let's do a reload and let's listen to the rhetoric coming out of these guys' mouths. Instead of loving the country that's welcomed them in, brought them in, and saying, because let's remember, these people in the Labour's eyes, or Keir Starmer's eyes, are refugees. They're fleeing from violence and tyranny and war. Oh, terrible. It's all women and children as well. And if it's not that as an excuse, it's, oh, but they're doctors. They're engineers. Yeah. So we believe that. Yeah.
Really is a total
Watch
disregard
again.
for the people of Britain. People who are expected to make room, step aside, and watch as their own culture gets undermined in the name of someone else's vision for the future. And the worst
That
part,
guy
it's not
as
even
well.
subtle. They're saying it
He's
out loud
always
now.
at the pro-Palestine events.
Actually,
Here we go. Listen to this guy. Going to oppose Sharia then?
You're not. That population is going down the slum.
The mask has
Your population is going down the slum. What are you going to do? That's what he said. Look at the crowds. Look at this. Can you imagine anything like this happening back in the 80s, 70s, or 60s? Just wouldn't have happened. Why? They're not fleeing anything. You don't go through 19 safe countries if you're fleeing war. And you don't leave women and children. Women and children are the ones that leave and flee when there's war taking place. The men stay behind and fight. So say if we're at war, someone comes to invade our country or war's happening in here, the first thing I'm doing is getting my partner and kids out of the country, somewhere safe. They're gone. I ain't going anywhere. I'm staying here to make sure that this homeland, what I call home, what my ancestors have lived in for centuries, stays put. That's what I'm doing. But as you can see, the opposite is happening. They come here first. Then, of course, their human rights that be having a family. They use that Human Rights Act to be able to have their family members. So then, once they've come and set up shop, they bring the family over. And this involves and includes cousins, aunties, uncles, grandparents, you name it. And that's when they come legally, not illegally. So you only need one of these to come illegally for about 10 of them, of their family members, to come legally. And this is what no one is paying attention to. No one will tell you that that is going on. They won't. GB News, Talk TV, they will always constantly talk about the statistics when it comes to the boats. No one's talking about the legal migration, the state of it, the numbers, the statistics. Nigel Farage himself won't even touch it, hasn't mentioned it yet, although he has says it's a bit too big, and they said 1 in, 1 out type thing. But it's the same 1 in, 1 out system that Keir Starmer's just invented. So we're not really making any progress, are we? And we already seen that Nigel Farage in that video with Winston Marshall or Andrew Gold, can't remember which one it was, but he was quizzed on what does he think about the demographic change here in Britain. And he wasn't concerned. He said it's all culture. He said we got to get people to integrate. Sorry, but there's people that simply just won't. Like these guys on the screen now. Do they look like they want to integrate? These guys on this screen now, this video was filmed. Do you know what they're asking for in Arabic and those signs on those banners? They were asking for Sharia law. They were protesting for Sharia law. Not just in Germany, but they've done it in Belgium and Sweden too. Already. And it won't be long until they do it here. Well, we've seen it happen here back when Stacey Dooley, that was in 2007 or 2009, when you've seen that BBC documentary with Stacey Dooley. When she went through her hometown, Luton, and got called all the names under the sun through the march. Yeah.
Slipped and they don't seem to care. And let's not kid ourselves. This isn't just happening in Britain. You can see the same patterns playing out across Western countries.
Wie könnte man jetzt aus Deutschland einen islamischen Staat machen?
Now watch this. How will you turn Germany into an Islamic state? And the guy is replying, according to the writings, in other words, scripture, the verses of the Quran, if you are in the majority,
Laut den Werken ist das so, dass man, wenn man in der Mehrheit ist, wie Sie auch erklärt haben, sind wir da.
We are ordered to occupy, capture, Germany. Definitely. So, we've got a Muslim right here being interviewed by a journalist of some sort, whether he's independent or with an organization, I don't know. But he is citing and saying that in his scripture, in his faith, in his belief system, in his ideology, that if he is living in a country where they are the minority and there is a majority, that they are ordered to occupy and capture. So, there you go.
Für befohlen, Deutschland auch einzunehmen, auf jeden Fall.
Also es ist der Moslem, das ist
So it's a Muslim. It's an Islamic obligation to occupy Germany, the German asks.
eine islamische Pflicht, auch Deutschland einzunehmen.
Auf jeden Fall, auf jeden
Definitely, definitely. There's your confirmation twice. Well, 3 times.
Fall.
Whether it's rhetoric like this or entire communities that refuse to assimilate, the outcome does not look great. If someone
Caliphate.
like Hijab wanted to increase
Don't know
birth
if you've
rates
seen
for
that, but
dominance,
that was
you've got to wonder
a bunch
why
of
don't they
people
move back?
calling for a
Click
caliphate.
Entire communities that refuse to assimilate, the outcome
go
does
here,
not
look.
look
Caliphate. Caliphate. Okay, that's what they're asking for. They want Sharia law. They want the final caliphate to form. The Mahdi. They're awaiting the Mahdi. And the Mahdi is someone who's supposed to come and bring peace on earth for a certain amount of years. And then they believe that Jesus will come and judge the world. So they believe that God is the judge of the world and only God can judge people. Yet Jesus is coming back to judge the world. Not Mohammed, but Jesus.
great. If someone like Hijab wanted to increase birth rates for dominance, you've got to wonder, why don't they move back? Clearly, they believe Islamic nations to be superior, so why live in a place like Britain? Unless, of course, it's all for the economic and personal freedoms they enjoy. The very freedoms provided by the infidels they claim to despise so much. The people who they look down on are the ones who built the system that allows them to thrive, speak freely, and push their agendas without fear
Sharia
of
for
persecution.
Britain.
What he
Wow.
and anybody who thinks like him should know is this: a culture in a nation exists for a reason. All these freedoms, laws, and liberties, they exist because they've been built on a
Go on,
foundation of
Winston.
shared history, struggles, and experiences. Britain and the rest of Western civilization didn't just wake up one day and decide to be free and democratic societies. These
We fought
values
for
were
it.
forged over centuries through revolutions, wars, debates, and countless sacrifices. They're not just vague ideas floating in the air. They're the product of a collective effort upheld by generations who understood the importance of protecting.
And listen, guys, I want to give you a bit of hope here, okay? Just remember, right? Because I know a lot of you, like me, take this very seriously, all right? This threat. And it does spring on you sometimes, and you do dwell in that moment, and you do worry, and you think, will it actually happen? Will Britain fall? I want you to remember, guys, that each and every single one of you that are British, you carry the same DNA, the same blood, the same bravery, the same courage, the same capacities as our ancestors did. Britain will never fall and will never surrender. We never will. We had a third of the world when we had the British Empire. If ever anything was to kick off, or any attempt was made on our country, be it from any country, or any ideology from any people, the British people will rise. Believe me, they are tolerant. We are tolerant. For the most part, quite silent at times because we just want to get on with it. We've got that stiff upper lip of just getting our heads down with life. But when it comes to our children, when it comes to safety, when it comes to every single town and city, and people are starting to realize and wake up that they are no longer being treated or as a priority, instead as the minority, that's when the British people will speak in a way that you have never seen before. And I don't want that to happen. I really do not want. This is why I would like to see something like Nigel making some sense out of things and doing a bit more digging and listening to his voters and followers, but also for him to put his differences aside with the likes of Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe and form something together. And Nick Tenconi especially. And Paul Golding. Even Paul Golding. And you look at people of the past that we once deemed as bad people or racists or whatever. Enoch Powell, Tommy Robinson and that. Now look, everyone's saying what they said was exactly right. They were telling the truth. They knew what was going on. And because it's taken a while for it to grow or flourish, this problem, this chaos that we have here in Britain, that's why it's taken a while for everyone to wake up and believe. But now, or what's next, is the inevitable, which is the act of replying. And we're seeing that with little protests here, there, and everywhere. That's how it starts. And yeah, we all know what goes on after. Back to the video.
And nurturing them. It requires commitment, respect, and a shared sense of purpose. If you undermine that, if you refuse to integrate or even acknowledge the culture that made these freedoms possible, you really are actively threatening the very principles that make it what it is. That's why this matters. Because a nation's values aren't automatic. They need to be upheld, protected, and passed on. And if that's not something you're willing to respect, then maybe you're not really part of the society you claim to live in. Something I'd like you to be part of, by the way, is my subscribers. So, if you're enjoying this video so far, please hit that subscribe button and give the video a thumbs up. Going back, despite all of this, there are Islamists like Bushra, who, let me reiterate, lives in London, wants a pan-Islamic state. Does she mean like what ISIS wanted? Was it the mandatory hijab, the slave markets, or getting rid of unaliving dissidents that appeal to her? Why would you be wanting a pan-Islamic state while living in the West?
She works for the BBC. Bear that in mind.
Let me remind you, Muslim countries generally differ from place to place in terms of their actual beliefs too. And they've been infighting for as long as Islam has existed. So this idea is pretty terrible to begin with. Bushra is living in a country that allows her the freedom to express these ideas, no matter how flawed they are. Yet, the pan-Islamic state she envisions, it wouldn't extend the same courtesy to her or anyone who doesn't fit its rigid mold. Islamic states are not built for pluralism. They don't tolerate diversity of thought, religion, or even practice within Islam itself. Take Iran, for example, where Sunni Muslims are marginalized in a Shia majority state, or Pakistan, where Ahmadi Muslims are legally considered non-Muslims and face persecution for practicing their faith. Now, imagine adding
Do you know what?
I was into this equation.
I'll take a little pause right here because obviously, as you can see today, I've had a skin fade. Now, my barber, he's Kurdish, and we were taught every time I have a skin fade, we talk. He knows I've got a YouTube channel. He's subscribed to it. Hello there. I can't remember his name, but because it's hard to say it. But yeah, he subscribed to my channel. And we always talk about religion. We always talk about Islam, Christianity, and we talk about the Bible, the Quran, and we talk about other things as well. And he classes himself as a Muslim, but he's not one of those guys. In fact, I made a video earlier, which I'm currently editing to upload later, about him and the conversations that I've had with him. And he's one of the good guys. He's one of those that have come here legally from Kurdistan. And he asked me earlier, he said, do you like me? I said, of course I do. I said, why would you say that? I said, I wouldn't be letting you cut my hair. So I wouldn't trust you with a cutthroat razor going across my neck whilst my head's back like that, would I? If I thought you was a threat. And he started laughing. And I said, of course. He goes, okay. He goes, because obviously he's seen some of my content. I said, listen, look, the British people, it's not like they're anti-immigrant, because we're not. I mean, unfortunately, there are a lot of people in Britain that are lazy and just point blank refuse to work. So we do need people to come in to do some of the jobs. We do. I believe more that we should go along the lines of more Europeans if we're going to go down that route. Or I believe in reality, we should just force those who are pretending to be sick to go to work. Like, we could do a massive trick. Maybe all those that are in wheelchairs, get them to go on the top floor with the lift, then disable the lift and set off a fire alarm and see if any of them can all get down the stairs. See if anyone gets up and stands up. Look, I'm not joking neither. We've seen it at the. I don't know if any of you seen or heard about this, but obviously Oasis got back together and they did a concert a few days or a week or two ago. And they had legitimately people pretending to be disabled to get access into the disabled area. And then when their favorite songs come on, they miraculously manage to stand up and start singing and dancing. So, and we're seeing it all the time. In fact, I've seen a few people around in my local area. One day they're walking to the shop with their friends and they're doing all sorts. Next minute they're driving a mobility scooter. What are you doing? Is that your nan's or is that yours? And then you find out, and they're writing on Facebook how ill they are, and they're on all these meds, and it's all to claim money. It's a scam. You got people like me who's waiting for a liver transplant. I'm on the urgent list, right? So they got to wait for someone my height, roughly my size, with my blood type, roughly my age, for me to have this liver transplant. And not only that, there are people currently sick in hospital beds right now, dying of liver failure, that need one before me. So I'm on the superior list. I'm up there high, but because I'm not in a bed and I'm not throwing up blood currently, and the varices are not exploding in my esophagus and blah 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 blah, all medical terms that I know you probably may not. It's going to take a while, and it has taken a while. And my doctors have signed me off because every now and then I have flare-ups. It wasn't long ago in February, I was in ICU for pneumonia, because when I get ill, a simple thing like the cold or the flu, it can possibly wipe me out. It only takes a certain bug or whatever. Because of my liver, your liver does amazing things, and plays a massive part with your immune system. And I have a very crap immune system, and to make it even worse, I have what they call PV, short for polycythemia vera, JAK2 gene. It's a genetic disorder, blood disorder. It's a cancer, believe it or not, that can turn into leukemia. But what it is, basically, go look it up. PV. It's about your red blood cells. Your spleen creates too many red blood cells and not enough white, and it can potentially turn into leukemia. I think I'm the only one in my family who's got it, apart from my nan's brother, which is my second cousin or something like that. I don't know. But he's got it, and thank you, Uncle Nigel. You gave it to me. I've inherited it. So, yeah, I have that disorder, and the only problem I've had with that is that, I'm on blood thinners, so I bleed a lot when I'm cut. But I get bruises now and then randomly just appear out of nowhere. And I've also had to have bloodletting. And it's an ancient practice. They used to do it. The British come up with it, actually. And they used to do it on kings, where they would let out about a pint of blood once a week for 6 weeks. And I had to do that in the past, and I'll probably have to do it again in the future. But yeah, so there are people who are sick, and like, you know, there's some things like if I do too much on my feet, my ankles swell up, and then I get what they call ascites, where fluid fills my stomach, and it has to be drained. I've been in hospital where I've just woke up out of nowhere, starting projectile vomiting, and other things I've had where I've just simply walking down the street, and then out of nowhere started throwing up blood. So I've been rushed to A&E, and then I've been put to sleep with ketamine and woke up in ICU. And yeah, I've had all sorts like that happen for years. So, you know, there are, you know, I am genuinely sick. But and it does affect me. My symptoms, they do, and I'm on a lot of medications for them. That affects you as well. You know, but there are people out there that do take the mick. You know, they have panic attacks now and then, and they think that they diagnose themselves, or they'll have naughty kids, and they'll say that they'll self-diagnose their children with ADHD. So then they'll put a PIP claim in, and then because you've got these famous TikTokers now teaching you how to get the best award, if you like, the highest award, how to win your appeals or how to win a tribunal, teaching you how to claim money that is put aside for the most vulnerable in society. These mothers and other people are watching them and taking advantage of it, which is you know, we're spending more on our welfare system than we are altogether on our defense, our army, our military. We're spending more on benefits than we are our own defense system. It's crazy. But let's continue with this.
Saudi Arabia, churches are banned, and conversion from Islam is punishable by death. Part of the reason why I have to wear masks. In Afghanistan, under the Taliban, what little religious tolerance there was has completely vanished. Minorities like Hindus, Sikhs, and Christians are either driven out or forced to practice in secret, living in constant fear. This is the reality of the system.
And just sorry for interrupting again. You know, they're constantly going on about numbers, especially to do with children in Palestine. They say, oh, 27,000, this, that, and the other. And believe me, yeah, it's wrong. Civilian deaths, especially when it comes to children, any civilian death is a tragedy. It really is. Right, regardless who it is. But they don't talk about the 300,000 children that have just been killed by Islamists, by Boko Haram in Nigeria, just because they were Christian. 300,000 children. Where do you see that on mainstream media? You don't see that anywhere, do you? Or other countries. Armenia. Families, 100,000 families being chased out, again, by the same Islamists. No one talks about it. You got it happening in Syria, everywhere, all over in the Middle East, all over in every Islamic state. Wherever there's Christians, Jews, Sikhs, Hindus, they're being hunted down for being non-believers, for being infidels. And in some countries, you can get along. I mean, you can go along as a tourist. I mean, in Saudi, if you go along as a Brit or an American, they'll welcome you and they'll treat you fine. They understand. Saudi is getting more relaxed by the year because of Mohammed bin Salman. Doesn't mean he's great for the country. Because if you actually live there, you will, like he said, be punished by death if you leave the religion. That's why I would say it's not a religion. In my opinion, it's more of a cult. Because you have no choice but to be a part of it. When you're born into it, you can't leave. If you do, your own parents. And I've seen videos. You only have to go on gore.com. Or I'm not going to make recommendations. But I've seen videos with my own eyes, and I pray to God to forgive me for watching these videos. But believe me, my heart wept when I watched this one woman who was. There was one woman who was set on fire because she was accused of saying something about the Prophet, and she had put the Quran in the bin. And I don't know if you have heard about that story. I can't remember where that was. It may have been Afghanistan or Iraq, somewhere like that. She got literally beaten until she was unalived, and then they set fire to her and left her. And even when she was unalived, they were still throwing rocks at her. But then there was another video as well of this woman who was assaulted in a certain way. She was raped, and her father took her, because he didn't believe her, to the Sharia law courts. And because she had no witnesses to prove that the man indeed actually did what she accused him of, she got put to unalived. And her own father dug the hole and threw the first rock. And she was screaming and crying, "Father, Father, I'm innocent. Please forgive me. I've done nothing wrong, but please forgive me." And he was shouting at her, no, it's up to Allah to forgive you. And he won't forgive you. You're going to hellfire. And she was saying, "Father, please, I love you." And he was saying, "I don't love you. You're my enemy now." He was calling his own daughter his enemy. And yeah, it was upsetting, but sometimes, and believe me, people say, "Why watch that stuff if it upsets you?" That's because you have to. You have to know what's going on in the world. Because if you don't pay attention, it could happen, and it could, it's a possibility. There is always a possibility that it could happen here one day. Like I said earlier, have hope, because we are British. But just imagine if it happened to a country that we are allied with. I don't know, maybe Sweden, France, Spain, Italy. Just imagine. And then that become common news. Because they've already normalized stabbings, shootings, people stealing phones, burglaries. All that is the norm now. Whereas I remember being a child, and whenever you heard someone had been murdered on the news, the family used to gather around the TV, like all shocked, in awe that this had happened. Especially if it was local news. When they said a burglary has taken place in Bristol or so and so. Now we're seeing things like body parts being found in suitcases on Clifton Suspension Bridge. We're seeing all sorts take place. And it's being normalized. And because it's being normalized in our head, because it's happening so often, so frequently, you get used to it. So we actually become, and we actually believe that this is how life should be. We don't think about the past or how peaceful it was. But I do. I remember riding my push bike down the road with no threats whatsoever. There was no one. There was no one. We were able to, you could have slept on the streets outside as a child, and all you would have got was help. That's all what would have happened to you. None of this possibility of a million girls being groomed and yeah. But anyway, this is why you have to see this stuff. You have to expose yourself to stuff sometimes to believe that it's genuinely taking place. And when you do, you have to be passionate about speaking about it, fighting back against it, and saying and explaining why it's wrong. That's why I expose myself to such graphic stuff like that. But anyway, let's continue with this.
Show dreams of, once again, from the comfort of a London apartment, is not just oppressive to women, it's oppressive to anyone who doesn't conform to a narrow definition of what it means to be a Muslim. The idea of a unified pan-Islamic state isn't unity at all. It's a recipe for division, persecution, and control. And that's the beauty of pluralism in the West. It allows people of different backgrounds, beliefs, and identities to coexist, to contribute, and to challenge each other's ideas without fear. The freedoms Bushra enjoys as a Muslim in Britain wouldn't exist in the system she's advocating for. And this is where it all leads to division, alienation, and deeper fractures in society. When you push rhetoric like this, advocating for dominance, supremacy, or a pan-Islamic state, you're not just isolating yourself from the broader culture, you're alienating other minorities too. Minorities who don't espouse these dumb ideas, but rather embrace their nation. These ideas pit communities against each other, reinforcing racial and cultural divides that only fuel more mistrust and conflict. This isn't how a healthy, cohesive society functions. Integration doesn't mean losing your identity. It means finding a way to contribute to and thrive within a shared culture. But what we see here, the refusal to adopt even basic respect for the nation.
Just imagine that happening to a mosque. The outrage, the protests that would take place.
And let's be honest, this doesn't just harm the broader society, it harms Muslims themselves. By rejecting the values of pluralism, mutual respect, and coexistence, these communities risk isolating themselves even further. It's a vicious cycle, and rhetoric like this only keeps it spinning. If this is what integration looks like to them, it's no wonder so many people are questioning whether it's working at all. At the end of the day, societies only succeed when people share a sense of purpose, respect, and responsibility for one another. Ideas like hijabs or bushras are very telling and extremely concerning. A house divided by contempt and mistrust cannot stand, and the cracks in its foundation only grow deep.
You see here that Winston Churchill statue in front of Big Ben. One of the last demonstration, I believe, that when was this? So October in Whitehall or February? I can't remember. I'm no good with dates, but I think it was February. The last one that took place, yeah, it was. I was stood right there. And if you guys were in attendance and you were in the crowd to the left, which would have been at Whitehall, I was a spotter there, watching out for Islamists, lefties. I was coupled up, I was paired up and twoed up with someone. We had a pair of binoculars and a, something scope, periscope, whatever it is. And we managed and we succeeded to fish out a few at the end, which literally turned up right next to us. And they stuck out like a sore thumb. But one of them actually managed to get in, hoping that he would cause havoc. But we were onto him and we got them out. And there was no banner dropping, nothing. And I'm proud to say that on that day, even though some things, well, a lot of things went tits up, things that we need to talk about on here in the future when allowed. I say that because there's things in the background taking place at the moment. I don't have permission really to talk about. And I don't really want to talk about, to be fair. But I'm sure some of you will know already what I'm on about, or can at least take a guess. But some of the members of staff, including us volunteers, even I was targeted myself, actually, whilst Tommy was in prison by the admin of his page. And said that, I was there on that day, and that there was a bit of a mix-up on the bridge. When we were on the bridge, the security team went in ahead of the stewards, and the stewards then got brought forward in front of the security team. But we were supposed to be securing those who were holding the banner, and obviously the public that were behind. So how can we do that? Because the stewards are just supposed to walk in linked arms to make sure nobody can get towards the guys holding the banner. So they're walking forward together as a barrier. And then you got us security guys on the sides of those holding the banner, behind also. And then you've got the crowd following. And then there was a massive mix-up because someone was moaning about and then because Tommy's son was at backstage of this event, that one at Whitehall, they didn't want anyone in the crowd security to go backstage, and they thought that one of the crowd security was trying to get there when he wasn't. He was trying to get a disabled person in a wheelchair to the disabled access area. So an argument kicked off, and then someone who was supposed to speak, which is a friend of mine, who was invited to come and speak, the traditional bricklayer, he got told to F off. And he had brought a load of men with him, as he does, like he did with the St. George's Day. He brought loads of men with him. He invited them down from his channel to come with him and join him and help Tommy with his cause. And he got told to F off by one of the stewards, who obviously didn't know who he was. But instead of kicking off or whatever, he went off to the pub with his friends, and they finished the day on a high. And then we had then Dean asked crowd control team, because we got given notice to quit and that they no longer needed us anymore. So even though we didn't argue, I didn't say anything, no one else said anything. We did our jobs, we volunteered our time. Some people stayed and paid for hotels. Usually that's what I do, is stay in the hotels and get the train or bus down. But this time I drove, and still had to pay for that. Whereas luckily with Dean, when he did the St. George's one, he because I was a bit stuck at the time, there's reasons, he actually helped contribute towards my fuel costs, and he covered my parking as well, and I was protection for him all day. So, and that, again, we had an amazing day with no problems whatsoever. We had a couple of threats, but that, as far as that was concerned, nothing. It was a great day. A day of celebrating St. George. And Dean, the traditional bricklayer, he did a bloody good job. It was his first time holding a demonstration, and he pulled that off. I don't know how he did it, but he pulled it off massively. Hugely as well. Got let down by the stage that we were supposed to have and the massive TV that was supposed to be there. But he managed to get hold of some scaffolding lads, and they put up a quick put together, and we did it the way we did, and it was such a success, and everyone had such a good time. It was amazing. Even the police, they were happy and smiley, and we got speaking to another group of protesters that were walking by for something else. And yeah, they joined in. It was an amazing day. It truly was amazing. There hasn't been one of the rallies apart from last October, and that was due to someone being ill that I've missed. And even then, I watched it on my phone. So yeah, the movement is definitely growing, and I'd like to see. I'm in two minds whether to go to September the 13th, and that's simply due to what happened with Peter Lynch's funeral bucket money that went round. Some of the people that are in Tommy's admin team, and a few other things. Few other people. There's a few things that are on my mind about it. I don't personally believe having a demonstration 3 or 4 times a year in London to show off some celebrities that you know and follow the same message as you from the United States and other people like that is uniting the kingdom. I really don't. I believe having boots on the ground, protesting and marching in every town, city that there is in the United Kingdom, be it in Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, and England, joining people together, creating an app that people can download and access forums, information, petitions to sign by mass, building a community. That's what I believe in. And I have contacted, like I've said before, so many people about this as an idea, and I've asked to join them on a podcast to talk about this or help me with this so we can create this app. And I know the idea is going to get stolen off of me anyway. I don't care. I just want to do something to save my country. And I've got the bravery to put my head above the parapet. And I've got the skills and I've got the knowledge to know how to unite people and to lead as well. And unfortunately, it's people's egos that get in the way. Like you see with Nigel and Tommy, you see them. Oh, I don't like. Then Ben Habib, Rupert Lowe, and they go from a team that were actually getting on to a team that's now divided. And now that everyone's setting up their own little movement things, which is causing more friction and more division amongst those who believe in the same thing, when we should all be united as one. Where I say enough is enough. Enough of that. Everyone come together, put your differences aside. Let's get our heads together and see how we can get out of this mess. If you genuinely love this country, you would. If you don't, then of course, what is your purpose? Why are you fighting for this country unless it's not for money? And I think and I believe, because this channel will never ever be monetized, ever. And I will never ask you to donate a penny to me for anything, any content. I don't want money from none of you for anything. What I do is for free. I do it for fun. I do it to save my country. I do it to help you, help your voice. I do it to help my country, and I want to help heal those who are hurting, give them a voice. And I think too many people are profiting out of our misery, be it through super chats, memberships, websites, merchandise, you name it. And I just don't believe holding a demo 4 times a year in London. Yeah, it's a great day out. It's good for 4 or 5 hours. But when you got 100,000 people together, yes, it's amazing. But it doesn't do anything. It shows the government that the people are waking up. Yeah, okay. Does it faze them? No, not really. It never has. Look at what takes place every week in Manchester, Liverpool, Bristol, London. There's always a Palestine march. It's gone on for nearly 2 years. And has anything changed? No. Has the government listened to them? No. Have they even addressed them? No. So there you go. And it'll be the same with us. In fact, all they'll do is censor people more, write the lists of names of people who attend. You'll all be eventually put onto the same database that I am on, and you'll all be classed as far right extremists. And then when they do bring digital cards out, it'll be that'll be the ticket that goes against us. So, but let's not get in conspiracy territory. Let's finish this video.
With every echo of such rhetoric. Hey, you made it to the end. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button
Well,
and
it's
give the
the
video a like. I'd also love to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below and let me know what you think. Hey,
So there we go. There we have it. So it's like I said, guys, it's been great to be back, and it'll be nice to have some of you come on board whenever you would like to. Like I said, at the moment, this is the current setup. I thought this was just a testing thing at first, just to see if everything works that I've just got and put together. But you know, we're going to make it better for you. And I'm in the middle of making some more content as well. So, you know, we're always trying our best. And I haven't forgotten about you. And I haven't forgot about the message neither. You know, we need to restore Christianity in Britain. And there's plenty of ways of doing that. There's this course that I've been thinking of setting up. But again, I need to speak with, and I fired off a long message to Maya Tusi today. And it's people like those that can give me a helping hand, promote the platform, promote my channel, and give me an opportunity to speak up. And if I can teach those who claim to be cultural Christians, whatever this means, which I of course I deep down know what it means. I'm a cultural Christian. Yeah, in other words, you grew up in a Christian country. You believe that this country or democracy was founded on Judeo-Christian principles. Maybe you were christened as a child, but you just don't go to church, whatever. What I want to do is offer a free 4-week course to those who identify as cultural Christians, free of charge, just to teach you what Christianity is about, but in a fun way. I'm not going to sit there and recite scripture that much, but just explain a little of what we believe, why we believe it, show you the proof, the evidence, but not just that God exists, but for Christ, the fact that he died and his resurrection, provide all the evidence that all the scholars have used and gathered during 2 millennia, and then push that onto you, and then leave that with you for you to make your mind up. And in the last week, I say to you, what I want you to do is go off now with what you've been told, with what you know. And I want you to go and pray. And I want you to pray this prayer. And I want you to go and live your life for that week as if you were a Christian. And return back. And if you decide at the end of that week, after that week is done, that you wish to become a Christian, then we will put your name down and you'll be baptized at one of the next demonstrations that we will set up ourselves. I'm already talking about setting up demonstrations and protests, marches, whatever you want to call them. Like I said, we need boots on the ground. I'm already in talks with people about that. I'm consistently bombarding those who have platforms, asking them to prove that what they're doing is not just for money, not just for their own personal gain, but for the love of their country. And if they are doing it for the love of their country, then they will help. They will turn up. They will put boots on the ground. They'll invite people to help me walk through the towns and cities where we have problems, where these grooming gangs have ruined the lives of our children, where atrocities have taken place, and we will be outside migrant hotels week after week after week. And it doesn't matter if it's not every week, it can be every fortnight. But we can't just do something 3 or 4 times a year within the confines of London. That is, I'm afraid, not going to save or help Britain. And we need to get behind the political movement. And this idea of this app that I've been talking about for a very, very long time, like I said, I got paperwork about that thick about it, what it can entail, about joining people together, creating a community, creating a dating section of it so like-minded individuals can find love, promoting, family values, promoting Christian values, where there's a place in the news section where you can get independent journalism from various types of accounts, be it Maya Tusi, Vicky Richter's, James Harvey's, anyone else's, Charlie Veach, put all their content all in one place, an app where you've got everything at once, all the messages or videos from Tommy Robinson on there, petitions that you can sign by mass so that they can be handed in literally the same week as they're created, where you got the pledge, where new people that we can get by when we go into these towns and people see us and they see that we have got the courage to do it, to speak up, speak out, and we're doing it on a weekly basis, people will join. People will want to become part of it. People will then be able to say, I now have a sense of identity. I feel safe enough now to speak up. I am not alone. People are with me in my hometown. They're marching for us. That's what people want. That's what people need. And that's what we should give the people. And that's what, unfortunately, these podcasters, YouTubers, influencers, or independent journalists don't seem to get. Instead, all they're worried about is monetization, copyrights, super chats, memberships, subscriptions, and how many views they get. And that is not how we should be. That's not what should be going on. Do you get what I mean? But anyway, whether they're doing it for a good cause or not, it's just totally wrong. We are living in a cost of living crisis, and no one should be profiting out of our our social issues. It's hard to get my words out today. But anyway, I'm done. I'm out. It's been the first live stream for a very long time. It's good to be back. It's good to see the equipment working. It's good to see everyone again. And thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Hit the notifications button as well, because it will help me. It will help build this channel. It's slowly creeping up, I know. I wish that those who were on my last channel could find me. Maybe they can if you share my content. Maybe they will if you can like this video, leave a comment, maybe share it on a different platform. please. It helps me. And remember, I will always do this for free. I don't want money. I haven't set up any payment way with YouTube. I don't want nothing to do with that side of things. There's no buy me a coffee. There's no Patreon. There's no super chats that you can do. There's nothing that I'm going to be doing to take any money off you, because that's wrong. My interest, and my only interest, is fighting for my country, fighting for the truth, but more importantly, fighting for Christ. God bless you guys. You take care. May God be with you and your families. Goodbye for now.